Okay, so let's start breaking this offseason up into pieces here. It's obviously there's a lot of moves that the Yankees need to make. There's a lot of work that they need to do. They have to make decisions everywhere: infield, outfield, catching, pitching, coaching, management, front office, a whole bunch of stuff. But to me, the easiest, probably the most movable pieces are Luke Voit, Gary Sanchez, probably Gleyber Torres, maybe even Gio Urshela. Now, I'm not saying they're going to get a lot back for them, but I think they could easily be moved in a trade. Particularly Gio, who holds probably the most value of the four. Torres, I could see Gio and or Torres staying until they rebuild more value, but if a team comes with a decent offer, I can see them pouncing and getting some pitching back or some prospects back or whatnot, because those spots are easy to fill right now, either with prospects or a free agent. So whether it be shortstop, second base, third base, easy to fill. There's a lot of guys available that could do those roles admirably and very productively. So I could see, the Yankees maybe putting together something with the Marlins, for a Torres and or a Voit or Torres and the pitcher or whatnot. For, if I would love to see him go for one of those young starters, Pablo Lopez or Sandy Alcantara, one of those guys. And it would cost the Gleyber Torres and someone else to probably get one of these guys because they're young, controllable starters. That could be an idea. Voit, I don't see them getting a lot back, but maybe they send him to the Rockies and he gets healthy and he can be the first baseman there. And if they for some reason adopt the DH in the National League, you can always transition him to DH and make it a little bit easier on him. But he's a guy that I think would be benefit now from a change of scenery, just based on the way that things have turned out this past year with the Yankees. Put him in a team like Colorado, let him hit bombs left and right over there. Gio, Gio is, of those guys, I think he's obviously the best defensive player of these guys. And he had an off season with his bat, but he also was hurt and was on the COVID list and a couple things. So, but I could see him staying around because of his glove. But I could also see him easily being replaced. But if the Yankees are going to make some, if they're going to do some things this offseason, they need to really, really be aggressive with it. I'm not convinced they're going to move either Stanton or Judge, although I think they should entertain it because they can get a lot for both of them. More for Judge than for Stanton, obviously, but it should be entertained. But that said, the most easily moving piece of these guys, Gary Sanchez, to me, is a guy that's easy. They can move easily as well. He's frustrating, but his value, he can hold value in other teams as well. Marlins as well. Even whatever you get back from him is what you get back from him. I don't expect him to get a lot for him, but I also think it won't take a lot to get a Wilson Contreras from the Cubs, and to me, he would be a perfect replacement for Gary Sanchez. Just as well as, a couple of Yankees prospects right now, whether it be Oswald Peraza or a couple of these other young infielders, not yet Volpe, but Everson Pereira, some of these guys could admirably fill in for Gleyber Torres and whatnot. And it also gives them, and again, it opens up the flexibility for them to either move DJ to first base or let him be the utility guy when he gets healthy and play multiple positions and have one day off per week as well. He's getting a little bit older, so he's going to, he's not going to get more athletic or more mobile. So bringing in some young blood will, young fresh blood, fresh legs, fresh arms, will give him opportunities to get him regular rest too. He won't have to be, won't have the pressure of having to be the full-time starter every single game. So, as much as we like his bat, and his bat's been great, but he was obviously not right this year. He's getting surgery at the end of the season, but so bringing in either some from replacements or allowing some of these younger kids to play would make the transition to full health easier for DJ LeMahieu. And should they move on from Voit, I don't, as much as it would be nice to have Rizzo back, I think Rizzo's probably going to be a little bit too expensive. And I like Freddie Freeman, but I think he's going to be a little bit too expensive too. I do think at the end of the day the Braves will wind up retaining him. So, and as much as I'd love a trade for Matt Olson, which would be the ideal scenario for first base, for some reason I just don't have faith in the Yankees brass to make a bold move like that. I would be surprised, very surprised if they did, even though it's the best move that they could make and they have the capital to do it. I'm sorry. I want to be as realistic possible here with these scenarios. So, I would love for them to get a bunch of folks and a bunch of good folks, but this is the Yankees, and this is House Steinbrenner's Yankees now. It's not George Steinbrenner's Yankees, so we have to keep that in mind as well. But that said, these are to me the easiest movable guys. Chapman could be immovable too, and him and Stanton are kind of in the same boat. The teams that could take him on will be limited, particularly Stanton because of the cost. He has 6 years left on his contract, all of which are pretty expensive. So that narrows the amount of teams who would be willing to take on that contract. Even if the National League adopts the DH, that doesn't mean all 15 teams are going to be after him. If the National League adopts the DH, we'll have 29 teams going after Aaron Judge. But they can determine the type of contract he makes. But they're both movable guys. But that, again, going back to these other guys, the Yankees unfortunately are not in a position to extract a ton of value from any of them, just because of the performance they had, the inconsistency they've had. And Gleyber Torres and Gary Sanchez specifically have mental lapses. They're not always mentally in the game, so that's a strike on them too. But I could see, Marlins might be a good fit. I think Don Mattingly would be a good guy to get more productivity out of Gleyber, since we good with the younger guys, and a little bit more productivity out of Gary Sanchez. He has, Derek Jeter there has support, and Jorge Posada, so he's got a almost Hall of Fame, borderline Hall of Fame catcher there that could at the very least be an advisor or an instructor of some sort or whatnot. So Marlins might be a good fit for Torres and Sanchez. I could see a package deal sending both of them and a decent prospect over there for one of their pitchers. It's possible. They have an excess of pitching. They have a shortage of offensive production, so it could work. Could work. Whether they do it or not, I don't know. But to me, I think these are the four most movable guys. Gio, I could see him going to a bunch of different places. I could even see him being moved to Oakland to potentially be a shortstop there. He's a defensive whiz. He has great range, and the Oakland would probably be a good fit for him too. So there's a lot of ideas out here. Of the four, I'd like Gio would probably be the one to stay, but I could see a whole remaking of the Yankees infield this offseason too, if they have the balls to do it. If Cashman and Hal have the balls and the willingness to do it, show people like I said the other day in a video that I made about THEO EPSTEIN, when he was talking, you knew when he was with Chicago or Boston, you knew his mission was to win and to win everything. And I never get that feeling from Hal Steinbrenner, and I rarely get it from Brian Cashman. One reason why is because they're never around. They don't answer questions. They don't face the media. Where the hell are they? We don't know where this franchise stands and what their goals are and whatnot. So, and everything falls down to Boone, who gives a lot of lip service too. And sometimes we feel it's baloney. And sometimes we feel like he's hamstringed by the other guys, by the guys at top, not letting him say certain things. And it's very frustrating. So, we need better. We need a better structural foundation from the top to bottom, and then from the bottom to the top, all across the board with the Yankees. But I wanted to talk about the most movable guys. And there's some other movable guys like Chad Green, Johnny Loizaga, but I could see them a very big appetite to keep Loizaga, and I think an appetite to keep Chad Green too. Adding Clay Holmes, and you have some other folks as well who could be options in the bullpen too. So that bullpen now that Chad Green, and I think Chad Green was gassed towards the end of the year too, but he's dominant when he's good, when he's on, as is Lasagna. So. We need those guys in the bullpen. We need to keep them a strength. So we need to boost. And if you can use some of these guys, even if you're giving up 2 starters to go get a pitcher, it adds depth to the starting rotation, which is something we need. Okay, anything we can do to add depth to the starting rotation, that's not free agency, you got to do. Even if you get 2 free agents, fine. You still got to bring in another one as a starter. You never have too much depth. Can't rely on Davy Garcia. Can't rely on some of these other young folks or Clark Schmidt, some of their former highly touted prospects. We don't know how Luis Hill is going to be there next year, and hopefully he gets an opportunity. Hopefully they don't do what they did this year, send him down when he's on fire, and then and have somebody up here that's doing really nothing, and then send him up a month or 2 months later and have him not to be the same. You take him completely out of rhythm, and that's what happened to him this year. That's what they do too many times to these young kids. They get opportunities, and then they send them back down for guys who don't do as well, and then when they send them up later, they're not the same. Yankees need to let kids who are on the heaters stay on the heaters. Keep the hot bat in there. Keep the hot pitcher in there. This is something I think that's structurally unsound with the Yankee family, with the Yankee organization, I should say. But wanted to go over those guys today. And there's some, like I said, there's some other guys, but these to me are the most obvious. Some of these other dudes aren't being moved. And again, I don't think any of them are going to get a boatload back in return. So I want to stay out of that fantasy land. They might keep Torres and let him reestablish Val. They might keep Joey Gallo, and even though he's probably movable somewhere, but I think if they let him stay and let him get a fresh start here at Yankee Stadium, and he gets off to a really hot start, then he has a lot of value going into the trade deadline. Or before that. And this is another thing that I mentioned recently too. Why wait until the trade deadline? If somebody's interested in one of your guys and it's May, if it makes sense, move them. Don't wait until the trade deadline. You lose opportunities. Okay, be first instead of waiting for the best deal. I've said this too. And again, if he has a good year and the Yankees keep him, then you give him a qualifying offer at the end of the year and you let him walk and sign with another team and you get an extra draft pick back. So that's something they could do with Stanton too. I mean, with Judge, but I think it'd be a ridiculous idea. Again, like I said too, make your best offer for him this offseason, and if he says no, then you trade him. That's it. Don't wait until next offseason. You're not going to have any leverage next offseason. None. He has all the leverage if he plays well. All of it. Don't dig that hole for yourself. Don't negotiate against yourselves. So we're going to start, diving deeper into the offseason, putting our plan together, and we'll have our live stream tomorrow night on plotting the Yankees offseason part 2, because we had so many good ideas and so much good perspective on our last one that it was really hard to keep up with. So we're going to do a second one so that we can keep putting our offseason together. I really like the ideas, and as one big Yankee collective, Yankee family, I think that we can continue to do this. And you never know, we might one of these brilliant ideas might be planted into one of these people's heads. They might hear it from somebody somewhere. So, but at the very least, we always play mock GMs and we want our team to do well. So, and I have a bunch of other stuff coming too. MLB free agent predictions, winter meetings predictions, trades that'll change the franchises, and I have boatloads of content coming. So if you haven't subscribed yet, do so right now and hit the notification so you don't miss them. And join me for the live streams. They're a lot of fun. A lot of fun. We get a lot of good people on there, a lot of good dialogue. So, and I'll be recapping a little bit of the playoff games right now. As we go on. It's not Yankees, but I'll still recap them. And I think the American League representative is going to come out of the East, Tampa Bay. That's why I think they'll be in the World Series again. So nationally, we'll see. I really don't care, but I think the American League East will have the World Series representative on this side. So, but anyway. Hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you think. If there's anybody else that you think is an easy candidate to be moved and maybe where, give us some insight. Let's get into it.